Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that is absolutely incredible, and I've got to say, I really love this one. We're going to follow the tale of Kumba. He's a young zebra who had to figure out how to survive and honestly thrive in a world where he just didn't quite fit in. Together, we're going to unpack the source material of his journey to discover something pretty profound. We're going to see how the exact thing that makes you different might just turn out to be your ultimate superpower. So let's get right into it. I want you to take a second and really think about this for yourself. What is it that makes you different? And maybe more importantly, do you view that difference as a curse or as a superpower? It's a question we literally all have to face at some point, and it's the exact question our young zebra friend had to answer for himself in the most dramatic way possible. Section 1. A unique zebra is born. All right, to really get this, we need to set the scene. Picture the Great Karoo Desert in Africa. It is a massive, incredibly harsh environment. Survival out there is tough, and water, dangerously rare. Right in the middle of this totally unforgiving landscape, there's a herd of zebras living inside a protected, fenced-off area. They firmly believed that staying strictly inside those boundaries was the only way to stay safe from the scary world outside. And it was right here that a baby zebra named Kumba was born. Now, think about your standard, normal zebra, fully striped, perfectly blending in with the rest of the herd. But then there's Kumba. He was born with only half the stripes on his body, just the front half. He stood out instantly, and the other zebras, well, they thought he was incredibly strange. They made fun of him constantly. Even though Kumba's parents loved him deeply, you can totally imagine the psychological toll that takes, right? Because of the relentless comments and bullying from his own herd, Kumba grew up feeling like a puzzle missing half its pieces, totally incomplete. Section 2. Blamed for the drought. So things go from difficult to desperate real fast. That fragile piece the herd was clinging to, it shatters. A sudden, severe environmental crisis hits the Great Karoo. And unfortunately, Kumba gets caught right in the crossfire. First, a massive, prolonged drought scorches the land. Then, their precious, ultra-rare water supply completely vanishes. Panic sets in. And honestly, this is where the cruelty really ramps up. Instead of banding together, some members of the herd start looking for a scapegoat. And who do they pick? Kumba. They actually convince themselves that his missing stripes are a bad omen that brought this drought upon them. It's wild. Feeling deeply hurt and entirely rejected by his own kind, Kumba makes a heartbreaking decision. He walks away. He leaves the herd, leaving behind the only home he has ever known. But here's the thing, Kumba doesn't just wander out there aimlessly. He actually embarks on this desperate, epic hero's journey to find a legendary magical waterhole. He's holding on to this old local myth that says this specific waterhole has the power to give zebras their missing stripes. He's totally convinced that if he can just find this place, he can finally be fixed, get his full set of stripes, and finally be accepted back home.
Section 3. Companions on the Journey.
Now, the desert out there is huge and dangerous, but the good news, Kumba doesn't have to face the elements completely alone. He actually bumps into some amazing new allies. First up is Mama V. She's a wonderfully brave and intensely caring bird. And right alongside her is Bradley, this hilarious, super outgoing and friendly ostrich. They become his absolute ride-or-die companions. And this is a massive turning point in the source material. Facing desert dangers as an unlikely trio teaches Kumba something the protected herd never could, the sheer, immense power of true friendship and courage. As he navigates the wild with Mama V and Bradley, you start to see Kumba's entire perspective shift. He starts realizing, hey, being different, it's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. He learns this incredibly vital lesson that every single creature has something special inside them, even if on the outside they look completely different from the crowd. Section 4. Facing Fango the leopard. Well, eventually, against all odds, Kumba actually reaches the legendary magical waterhole. But man, this is not the easy finish line he was hoping for. Waiting for him is a terrifying, deadly threat, a leopard named Fango. And why is Fango lurking there? Because Fango knows an old legend of his own, one that claims consuming a half-striped zebra will make him the single most powerful predator in the world. So Fango's actively hunting Kumba. In an instant, Kumba's quest for acceptance morphs into a high-stakes, life-or-death situation. Kumba is staring down a massive, life-defining choice. Does he flee? Does he run away to find safety, exactly like his herd back home always trained him to do? Or does he fight? Does he dig his heels in and face Fango? In an absolute masterclass of bravery, Kumba refuses to back down. Actually, scratch that, he completely rejects the very concept of running away. He chooses to face Fango head-on with pure courage. And the climax of this showdown? It is spectacular. During their fierce, chaotic battle, something amazing happens. Their physical struggle literally unblocks a hidden source of water. It bursts forth, bringing life right back to the parched, dry land. Soon after, the rains returned to the Great Karoo Desert, and every single animal, including the very herd that exiled him, is saved. Section 5. Uniqueness as a strength. Now, while the physical victory of bringing the water back is obviously huge, the emotional victory for Kumba is what really matters here. Kumba finally, truly understands that his worth was never, ever tied to his physical stripes. The magical waterhole didn't need to change how he looked. His real strength came from his incredible bravery in facing Fango, his kindness, and the way he fiercely cared for his friends Mama V and Bradley. When Kumba finally struts back to his herd, the whole dynamic has shifted. The herd has their own massive wake-up call. They realize that being different is not a weakness. They look at this young zebra they literally cast out, and they finally understand that the very thing that made him an outcast, his willingness to step outside the safe zone and be different, was the exact thing that saved all of their lives. It's what made him special. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway from this explainer requires us to completely redefine how we look at being different. Based on Kumba's journey, uniqueness is not a weakness. Being a bit strange or standing out does not make you less valuable. In fact, your uniqueness can, and very often will, become your absolute greatest strength. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I really want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. Think about your own life. Think about your own quirks, or those things you perceive as flaws. How are you going to use your own missing stripes as your greatest strength today? Kumba stopped apologizing for who he was and used his unique spirit to literally save his world. I challenge you to embrace your own differences and do exactly the same. Thanks so much for joining us as we unpack this incredible story. And whatever you do, never forget the power of what makes you, you.